with a wealth of international experience. She is Miss Spica Alpania. She holds a master's degree in political and social sciences from the University of Indonesia and a bachelor's degree in agriculture from Patimura University. With a strong foundation in diplomacy, she has participated in prestigious training programs worldwide, including sessions in USA, Australia, and Netherlands. Throughout her distinguished career, Ms. Spica has served in various critical roles, both overseas and in Indonesia. Notably, she excelled as a Consul General of the Republic of Indonesia in Melbourne, Australia from 2018 to 2021. Her expertise extends to crucial areas such as international security, public diplomacy, and transnational organized crimes. She has represented Indonesia in multiple international conferences and negotiations, addressing complex issues such as corruption, drug trafficking, and migration. Ms. Parker's dedication to diplomacy is evident in her extensive involvement in diplomatic training, as well as her contribution to interfaith and intercultural dialogues. Her leadership and insights have made her an indispensable member of various national and international delegations, shaping policies and strategies to resonate globally. Thank you so much, Ms. Parker, for joining. You can start with the lecture.
Thank you very much, Mr. Shabir. Hello, I would like to say hi and hello to my colleagues at the Indonesian Embassy in Islamabad and for all participants that attending today's program entitled The Indonesian Foreign Policy, The Rise of Indonesia as Middle Power. I will ask my colleague to, I have several slides that my colleague will help me in present it to you. Okay. This is the theme that provided to me. I hope you are all can see that. The Indonesian Foreign Policy, Middle Power and Global Leadership. And with that, I will start with the with the situation, the global situation of today. If we see that within the global context, ladies and gentlemen, colleagues, participants of this program, we are living in what we call now VUCA world, because it's so volatile, it's so uncertain, it's so complex and full of ambiguity. As students at the university, this might be a usual terminology that you might encounter in the daily life or in the classroom. These 4 words is not a strange ones. You might be learn that already. But why we said it's VUCA, because it's very volatile. Things can change very fast. And it's very uncertain because what we call it, what is certain in today's world is uncertainty. We cannot predict tomorrow, what will happen tomorrow, because things can change so rapidly and so quickly. And for that also, the world becomes so complex. Interdependency from one word or one event to the other is very close, and we can feel it on the daily basis. I would like to use this map provided to us from the Council of Foreign Relations, where we can see this is the geopolitical dynamics of today. This is, we find it in the, as of August this year, August 2023, and you can see the spots in all parts of the world, from the American continent to Africa to Europe to Asia. Everywhere you can see a lot of flashpoints. So, and this can, we call it geopolitical dynamics, but sometimes it's also correlates with economy. Things like what happened in Europe right now between Russia and Ukraine, for example, is not only impacted geopolitics of today, but also impacted or affect our geo-economic situation. And I believe that colleagues and everyone in Pakistan like us in Indonesia, also feel the impact of the situation in Russia and Ukraine. So the world has become very interdependent from one place to the other, from one issue to the other. You see the flashpoints, and you can learn later on, but we can see that there's no part of the world that's free from the dynamics of today. Move to the next, a little bit closer to us maybe, or very specific for us. The issue that I would like to highlight is about the climate change and global average surface temperature. The four picture on the right-hand side, the bottom right, is the picture of from my apartment from 4 different times. So the first two is last year when we still, mostly work from home because of the pandemic situations. The sky is just so blue. The month after is a little bit gray, but the other two on the right-hand side, very right, at the bottom right is the photo from June or July, if I'm mistaken, July of this year. But on top of that is the picture of today, where in Indonesia we can feel it. That's very hot in Indonesia, and the quality of the air is very bad. And this all changes very rapidly from one month to the other. So we can feel the heat, and I don't know whether you can feel the difference there in Islamabad as well. But us in Indonesia, we feel it, that the situation is changing very rapidly. Why I would like to highlight the issue of climate and the temperature, because based on the ISEA survey 2023, there are 3 top challenges that facing Southeast Asia today. One is unemployment and economic recession, and that is also impacted or affected by the situation of after the war in Europe between Russia and Ukraine. The second issue that names there is the climate change and intense and more frequent weather events. We see from the news the wildfires in America, for example, of today is totally, it's not it's very frequent. The weather events become very frequent now, and in a more dramatic situation. So that is what happens today. The third challenges that face in Southeast Asia, based on that survey, is the widening socioeconomic gaps, income disparity, and military tensions. These military tensions also become, increase very rapidly in the last year or two. And we can, if we want to use another survey, then we can say that in all parts of the world, the arms race is heightened or even increased right now. And that becomes the challenge for the people in Southeast Asia. Now I would like to move, if that is the top 3 challenges of today, what about the challenges in 2 years' time or even the next 10 years' time? Now, this is the World Economic Forum Global Risk of 2023. We can see why I'll keep on mentioning about the climate and everything, because if you see in the next 2 years, out of 10 most, the risk that we will face out of 10, there are about 5 issues linked with the climate or about the environment. In 10 years' time, out of 10, there are 6 issues that deal with environment or the climate. So the issue of climate is very important for us to talk about or be cautious about, because that in the next 2 or in the next 10 years' time, this is the reality for us. Now, other than the issue on the left, we can see also that other notable global risk that we will face today, tomorrow, this is the issue are infectious diseases. In Geneva, our colleagues and counterparts are discussing about the next treaty, about the treaty pandemics. The treaty dealing with because we have to be prepared for the next pandemics. The next pandemic, people said that it is uncertain. We just don't know about when it will happen. And that's why we have to be prepared. The other global risks that we will face in the next years or the next decades is the interstate conflict. My first slides from the Council of Foreign Relations, we can see that interstate conflicts or conflict between countries are happening rampant and happen in all parts of the world, and we have to be prepared for that. The next one is about the cybercrime and cybersecurity. I believe that all colleagues or maybe counterparts dealing with the issue on security, the terminology, or even us on our daily basis, the term of AI and quantum and everything working on with digital, that is the theme, and that it has two sides that will assist us or help us in our daily life for progress, but it will have a dark side then where we have to face with, for example, with the cybercrime and the cybersecurity. We haven't discussed about the cyber defense, for example, but that will be the next challenges for us in the future. The other issue is about economic downturn, and the last one is about the terrorist attacks. This is all the global risk that we will see in the years to come. And I hope that it won't happen in our time, but I think we see that it's happening, it's going to come. Now, that is the global context that I hope this can give you a glimpse of the challenges or the facts of today and the challenges that we will face in the next 2 years or decades. Now, what happened closer to now from the global, we come to the our region, as the theme or as the title that gave to me about Asia and Indo-Pacific, I will quote the survey by Lowy Institute. I think for this class or for this program, the term of Indo-Pacific and Asia Power Index from Lowy Institute, you might heard already several times. I assume that way. So this is not new maybe, but let me highlight that again or reiterate again. The Asia Power Index used by Lowy Institute measures several themes: economic capability, military capability, there is resilience, future resources, economic relationship, defense network, diplomatic influence, and cultural influence. There are 26 countries in Asia Pacific that they do the survey about, including the US, Indonesia, and Pakistan. And they found that overall, comprehensively, Indonesia lies at the number 9, ranked number 9, while Pakistan ranked at the number 15. Thailand is better than Indonesia. Oh no, Singapore is better than Indonesia at number 8, while Thailand is number 10. And Pakistan lies between Taiwan, number 14, and Philippines, number 16. So out of the measures that they use, for Indonesia, diplomatic influence of Indonesia is the strongest in ASEAN, while they consider Pakistan performs best at future resources And for that future resources, they look into the potential demographic dividend that Pakistan has in the years to come. The Asia Power Index also, if you look in the index or in their website, you can see the comparison between one country to the other, from military capability or cultural influence, defense networks, and it's very dynamic. If you can see that, it's very interactive index or survey, and it's very interesting to see where Indonesia and Pakistan lies, or Indonesia compared to other countries. But why I would like to use this index and see where Indonesia comprehensively, the power of Indonesia in its diplomatic influence, because we will move to the next slides, where if you see in this Indo-Pacific theater, based on that survey and comprehensive measures, we can see that in Indo-Pacific, the region becomes more complex. We feel the competition, we see the competitions for influence from major powers is very feasible in the country, in the region. There are flashpoints, and I assume you already also learned about it or maybe heard about it. The flashpoints in the Indo-Pacific being discussed in various session or meetings. There are 3 flashpoints that usually being mentioned also in the survey and in the discourses. One in the Taiwan Straits, the second one in the South China Sea, and also in the Korean Peninsula. And they're all in the Indo-Pacific. Now, that is the situation outside of the countries and happens and being can feel by everyone. But there are also challenges started maybe from within one country and then will affect another country, or from one country and affect the environment or the region in the Indo-Pacific. One is the food and energy security. The second one is the pandemics. The third one is the climate change again. And the fourth one is cross-border and transnational crimes. For countries like Indonesia and Pakistan, I believe that the issue of climate and cross-border and transnational crimes is very important and strategic for us to be cautious about, or even boost our collaboration and cooperation for the years to come, because this is very, for us as a developing countries and middle power in the region, the issue like climate and cross-border transnational crimes is very significant for us. There are lots of opportunity, room for us to collaborate in this 2 important topic or areas. Now, talking about Indo-Pacific, we also learn that there are many, maybe not a lot of countries, but quite a number of countries have their Indo-Pacific outlooks and strategies. And even though there are similarities or the areas that may be pretty much the same from one country, from strategies or outlooks and the other, but there are also differences in interests from one strategy and outlooks than the other. Having said so, differences should not prevent synergy and cooperations, because if the one country or a group of countries like ASEAN and AU have their outlook, Indo-Pacific outlooks and strategies, for us, or for me at least, that means there's an interest and concern about the situation in Indo-Pacific. If we care and we concern about the Indo-Pacific, we should have the open doors for synergy and cooperations. We have to believe that cooperations and synergy will benefit us in the long run, and that will benefit the Indo-Pacific region. Now, this situation and challenges, outlooks, and strategies also signify that there is structural shift in the region, in the Indo-Pacific. One would say that we are in the multipolar world and become bipolar because of the competition for influence. That's, very, we can see it clearly, or, you can see that there are only two sides, or only two major powers that competes in this regard. So the world become from multipolar turn into bipolar. But others also can say that from bipolar, it turns into multipolar when countries in the region would like to decide that they would not join one group or the other. So there are multipolars, or there are multi-groups in the region. The situations in the Indo-Pacific also can be seen as the growing or the increased deficit of trust, or trust deficit, and that can that will put the countries in the region at the disadvantage. The trust deficit should not maintain or let it happen indefinitely. The trust deficit should be managed. We should put the synergy and cooperations up front. We have to try our best to have a dialogue and have a various program to build this trust again. And I believe that this kind of program, the online internship program to introduce Indonesia and the situation in Indonesia, the strategic or foreign policy and diplomacy of Indonesia to our counterparts in Pakistan, and vice versa, we learn from each other, is our effort, is a very strategic effort to rectify the situation. Let's put it that way. This is not an easy task, because we will face new challenges up front, but I think that also opens another door or opportunities for us to work together, to be creative, find another way to work together. In the Lowy Institute Asia Power Index, let's turn to that. There's also one, this is the paragraph that I like to quote again and again, because as a chair in our position now as a chair of ASEAN, we heard maybe in the past that Indonesia being criticized, exercising weak leadership. However, based on this survey, the diplomatic engagement showed that Indonesia to be among the region's most diplomatically active players. And I hope that this kind of program will be continued in the future. This is not only us being active player diplomatically, but because we believe that this is the effort that will benefit us in the long run. So this is not just an event or a program or being active per se, but with a purpose and objective that will benefit the countries in the region and for us in the future. Now we will come to this very important part of the discussion of the day. What is Indonesian foreign policy and diplomacy? We have what we call free and active foreign policy. some will use the terminology or the word independent instead of free. So this is the independent and active foreign policy. And like people like to criticize, they said that the independent and active, meaning neutral. Independent and or free and active foreign policy is absolutely and 100% not neutral. Why I said that? Because being neutral, meaning you don't do anything, you're being passive. But for Indonesia, being free and active, with free and active in foreign policy, Indonesia being active, participating in various programs and being creative, because we believe that this is the mandate of our constitutions to contribute to the world, to the peace and stability of the world. Now, I saw from your program, the online internship program, after this you will discuss about the non-aligned movement. This is very interesting also discussion and theme, and I hope you will benefit from the next speaker or the next lecture on non-alignment. But Indonesia is also one champion of non-aligned movement, then it will continue to be a non-aligned country. In the previous slides, when we see that the issue or the competition for influence in the region, there are certain pressure that Indonesia and other countries in the region, including ASEAN, to choose sides. But Indonesia believes in non-alignment. We do not have to choose because and instead, we can be aligned and work together with many countries as possible. At the end of the day, it is national interest that prevails. And for that, non-alignment is the best solution or the best way moving forward. For Indonesian foreign policy in the last 10 years, we have set 5 priorities, 4+1 we call it. The first one is economic diplomacy. The second one is the protection of Indonesians abroad. The third is sovereignty. The fourth, regional and global contribution and leadership. And the last one is pretty much dealing with internal, our foreign policy and foreign service, is the strengthening diplomatic infrastructure. In all Indonesian efforts or contribution and engagement with the world, be it in bilateral relations, be it in regional engagement or in the global engagement, you will see us working in within these 5 themes. Economic diplomacy is very important to us moving forward. As member of G20, the president of G20 last year, we put serious emphasis on economic diplomacy. The second of all is the protection of Indonesians abroad, not only because we have many diaspora, but also because this is the mandate of the Constitution. You will see whereas Indonesian embassies and Indonesian missions abroad will do the best wherever there's a conflict situations or the situations where Indonesians will need assistance, Indonesian missions will be there. The third one is sovereignty. This is very also key and core theme for us in our diplomatic engagement with the world. The fourth is the regional and global contribution and leadership. And with this, I will move to the next slides, where you will see where Indonesia in the last few years. Indonesian diplomacy and leadership, not only you can see in the region, but also at the global level. We are acknowledged as the middle power with a vision of bridge builder and net contributor to peace and stability. We do not believe in the war. We believe that peace and stability is important and the key. And for that, we will working tirelessly to voice out this important message. Only with peace and stability in the region we can move to the we can build economic and prosperity for the countries in the region and globally. We have assets, definitely, just like Pakistan, and for that we would keep on enhance these assets in our leadership. The first is geography, where we lies between the two big oceans, Indian and Pacific Oceans, and the continents. And this is the geographical situations that we will definitely consider as a big asset. Demographic, just like Pakistan as well, we are the developing, growing nations, and we will. People said that we will have this bonus, demographic bonus, in the next 10 years. We are democracy. We have economic capabilities that we will use in our engagement with the world, and also bilateral relations with other countries. With the trust put in us, we believe that reviving multilateralism is a must. We believe in multilateralism and respect for international law and principles. And with that, you can hear we voiced that out during our chairmanship of G20 last year and chairmanship of ASEAN and MICTA this year. MICTA is the group of middle powers, where us also, and now in being the president. And the three priority for Indonesia chairmanship of MICTA this year is strengthening multilateralism, inclusive recovery, and digital transformation. So the digital transformation and inclusive recovery pretty much similar with our presidency of G20 last year. And we also believe and participate in various UN programs and within UN system, be it Security Council, Human Rights Council. We also believe in and participate actively at the peacekeeping operations. So this is the what we do today and will continue to do in the years to come. And I hope that with this short presentation, you can get a glimpse of what we have in the region, what Indonesia believes, and what we would like to project to our counterparts in the future. And we'll work together with colleagues in Pakistan for that regard. And with that, I will conclude my presentations today. Thank you very much for your attention and participation. I look forward to hear your comments or your question, if there's any, and we will have discussions. So with that, I thank you, Mr. Shabir.
Thank you so much, ma'am.
Islamabad. Yeah.
Thank you so much, ma'am, for sharing such a valuable insights. The way you have highlighted Indonesian foreign policy and Indonesian diplomacy and leadership, it's actually very wonderful. So I'll ask anyone, if any one of you have a question, please raise your hands. I think, ma'am, it was so well explained that no one is looking forward to have any question. So I think we'll just end this.
Can I just ask questions though?
Yeah, you can ask. So there's one candidate who want to ask question. She's Faiza Tahir. Faiza, you may ask question, please.
That's such an informative lecture. My question was that you've talked about non-alignment of Indonesia. So in the previous lectures, from what we've heard, that Indonesia is more inclined towards China now because they are one of the biggest trading partners and due to the CPEC project. So is this non-alignment stance on only political matters or economic matters as well?
Thank you. It's a very interesting question. I don't believe that there's one country that will be living in isolation, that you do not align with anybody, nor your engagement with one country politically that will be read or considered that you will align yourself with that particular country. Because now, in terms of economy, China is very powerful. This is the fact. China is very powerful. And not only Indonesia that relies so much in terms of economy with China, but does that mean that we align ourselves in terms of policy or foreign policy or domestic policy with China or other countries? I don't believe that is, or that can be seen as simple as that. Because in terms of economy, we have to see that interdependence is very strong, and China is one major player in this regard. There are lots of countries, depend on China. But non-alignment in terms of political non-alignment or in the decision making, even though we depend on China economically, doesn't mean that the Indonesian economic decision or Indonesian economic policies align with China. That is totally, I believe that is totally different things and separate things. But as you clearly point out, or you mentioned, non-alignment usually interpret as the political political position. So usually when we say non-alignment, it means we don't align politically, but economically we depend on one country, but we also not doesn't mean that we align economically. I hope that clear. You can understand that non-alignment is for political purposes. And in economy, I think everybody is now dependent on China right now.
Yeah, thank you so much, ma'am. Thank you.
Yeah.
Soha, you may ask question, please.
Assalamualaikum, ma'am. Am I audible?
Yes.
Yes, you are.
Okay. Ma'am, my question is, how does Indonesia's commitment to peacekeeping and conflict resolution contribute to its middle power identity?
Thank you very much. A very interesting question as well. Very good questions with regard to peacekeeping operations. We are one of the countries that committed to the peacekeeping operations. We have peacekeepers in various parts of the world, including in Africa and Middle East, like in Lebanon, for example. We are committed to that. We are one also of the big senders of peacekeepers troops through the UN, but we believe in the UN system. So in that regard, we will always work through the UN and not through other channels. I think maybe 10 years ago or in the last 5, we have the commitment to send 4,000 peacekeepers. I think 4,000 or 8,000, I forgot, sorry. But we committed to send that number to the UN. That might change in terms of the number, but we are committed to be included still in the biggest 10 countries that send the peacekeepers through the UN. And with that, and also I would like to highlight that maintain the peace and stability of the world is mandated in our constitution. So we will always committed to that, not only to send the peacekeepers, but like our president or our foreign minister participated in multilateral forums in the UN, voicing out the voice of dialogue and peace. I think that is also one way to show our commitment to the world peace and implement the constitutions. And I hope that is answer your question.
Thank you, ma'am.
I think Pakistan is also one of the big senders of the peacekeepers, yeah, to the UN.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Right. Now, Mr. Shabir, can I ask questions?
Yeah, sure, ma'am.
Because we don't have the session at the beginning where I, being introduced or being informed about your class or this class. Is this part, are all participants the students from one university? Which faculty?
Yes.
If you can inform.
Yes, ma'am. It's a student from one university, but we all are sharing different departments. So some are here from business, some are here from social sciences. So there's diversity in terms of departments we share here. But yes, we are from the same university, which is Bahria University, as you know.
Oh, okay. So the interest maybe from one student from the different from one student to the other.
Yeah, everyone is
in terms-
listening or perceiving what you're saying depending upon their field of study. For example, if I talk about business students, so they are trying to grab the things related more towards business, whereas if I talk about social sciences or international relations, so those people are grabbing more things, as you have discussed about foreign policy and all. So I think their interest might be at that side. So yeah, there's diversity in terms of understanding.
Okay. So what for the students? Sorry
for that.
For the students learning from like international relations, is Indonesia, are your areas of study is predominantly South Asia or Southeast Asia, or is it Indo-Pacific, for example, being discussed in the class or not? Or because
Yes, ma'am. We have discussed about Southeast Asia and Indo-Pacific specifically in our classes in different subjects. If we are studying about foreign policies of different countries, we will discuss about South Asia. Then we'll discuss about Central Asia, then Southeast Asia, and different states. And specifically, we have discussed about ASEAN's region, their foreign policy, not in detail, but we did.
Okay. May I ask question again? What do you think about Indonesia though? Now, like based on my presentations, maybe am I repeating other, there's nothing new maybe in the presentations, or there are new things that you don't know, or what is the area of Indonesia that you really wants to know?
Maybe it's actually everything really. Right, different mentors or instructors who have taught us, they have discussed about different monetary policies, they have talked about fiscal policies, you have talked about foreign policy. So there are a lot of topics that has covered. And yes, you have shared a new thing related to foreign policy. So the best thing that we can conclude from this internship is comparing the situation of Indonesia and Pakistan. I believe that political instability is in both countries, the economic instability in both countries. So we just try to find out the better ground for both countries, and how this internship program will be helpful for students in terms of both Indonesia and Pakistan.
Okay.
If I may, what we study in class, and I'm majoring in international relations. So what we've been taught is that all the discourse is designed by the Western philosophers and all that. So what we get to learn from you is your first-hand experience and your perspective of things. So that's quite different for us because what we read is basically the textbook knowledge. Nobody has been to Indonesia. None of our teachers have. Maybe some of them have, but they don't know the first-hand experiences of the Indonesian people and how they perceive Indonesia. So that's quite different for us when we get to learn from you guys.
Very interesting. Thank you, Ms. Faiza. Yeah. Well, I use the survey from Lowy, which is from the West as well, right? From Australia. But since the survey is about ASEAN and about Indo-Pacific, Asia-Pacific, so usually we use that as our source of information or to compare one country to the other. Just like the Yusuf Ishak Institute or ISEAS survey, we use that as well usually because if you see or you have time to look into the survey, that compares the all ASEAN member countries and how they perceive or their perspective of the competition between China and the US. And are we aligned ourselves more to the US or more aligned ourselves to China, for example? It's very interesting discussion to see, and we use that. But as you mentioned, usually our internal education, our internal training as a diplomats and practitioner in the field of international relations, usually that also shape us to read that kind of survey, and would that really reflect us and Indonesian foreign policy, or usually not? For example, as Ms. Faiza mentioned before about the non-alignment, is it political or is it economic? Because Indonesia is, being seen and, see that we are so close to China. And also in that survey, it's very interesting because most Indonesians, at least who participated in the survey of ISEAS that based in Singapore, is Indonesians really align themselves to China compared to the US if you contest those two major powers. And also if I think we usually use this map of EIU because when we want to respond to conflict in Russia and Ukraine, for example, usually us as a global South, Pakistan included, and I assume in that, is that we again competition of influence, competition of interest between major powers. We are dragged to one end, that is the West, or the other end, that is Russia. And that map showcase that majority, 2/3 of the people in the world, including in Indonesia, align themselves to Russia more than to the West. And so this is very interesting discussions. Maybe we should do, because this is the survey made by, as you mentioned, from the West, from big countries, Western countries. Maybe us in Asia should do our own survey. Global South should do our own survey and see whether we can confirm that facts or findings, or maybe we can find another findings. Maybe how we formulate the question will be different from EIU, which is based in UK, for example, how they formulate the questions. Maybe that is an interesting, discussions for us in the future if we want to do something like that and see whether our findings will be similar or not. So that's interesting. I'm in Indonesia, never been to Pakistan before, never been to India as well. So as you mentioned, maybe most of you, I don't know, maybe one or two ever been to Indonesia, but because I never been to Pakistan, my perception about Pakistan is also only based on what I've read from readings or from the news. And even though I explain a lot about the global situations and about the role of Indonesia foreign policy and diplomacy, the big area for me where we can cooperate is on the issue of climate and on the issue of transnational organized crime. I believe that we face the same or similar situations because of our young populations. They need jobs, they need stability, and sometimes the situation doesn't give them much hope and opportunity. Maybe the opportunity for work is not as many, and certain the availability is not there for them. So the dark side, the dark world is more interesting for them. And that is the big challenge for us in Indonesia. And I assume that will be also the challenge for Pakistan. Is my my readings correct, or is there any areas for cooperation that you think for us, Indonesia and Pakistan, we can cooperate in the other areas, economy or others? What do you think, Mr. Shabir or other colleagues? I've never been to Pakistan, so that's why I said that's the areas where we can cooperate based on my readings. But what do you think of it?
Ma'am, climate issue is...
Yeah, so how you can answer.
Okay, actually, ma'am, climate issue is in right now, like we are facing a lot of challenges related to climate. So we can cooperate on this issue, and we can discuss about it, and we can take it through the UN and discuss about it there. But our focus is right now, our focus is more on our politicians and politics, what we have to do to stable our countries, other than focusing on these issues.
Okay. Mr. Shabir?
Yes, ma'am. So I just want to say that I met the Excellency Ambassador of Indonesia, and we were discussing about the same thing, that the small and medium enterprises, both in Pakistan and Indonesia, they face a lot of challenges. So how we can, by helping the government in making policies, how we can address this issue, and how we can increase exports of both countries by combined efforts. So we have talked about this. It was actually very good listening to him on this particular topic. So I think small and medium enterprises are backbone of an economy. So that's the one thing I want to add.
Okay, thank you. What about digital economy? Because us in Indonesia, we are moving forward to digital space and use our marketplace is very, I said, it's very big, promising. For us, we use now everybody, there are many supermarkets closed, and, shopping mall is closed because people are changing how they shop through the digital space and marketplace. So is that happening also and that's why digital transformation is also the priority in our MICTA chairmanship and the G20 chairmanship. What is the situation in Pakistan? Is there any opportunities for us to cooperate? Is digital or e-commerce is also big in Pakistan or not?
Yes, ma'am. People are focusing on digital market now. They are like turning to that market. They prefer more online things. They do businesses online. They are doing jobs online. So they are preferring to a digital marketing and focus on digital market right now.
Oh. That is one areas why we are close to China, because China is also very big in e-commerce, and there's no way out. You cannot run away from that fact. And that is also my interest. But talking about domestic politics, I believe that if you would like to learn more about the democracy, domestic politics, Indonesia will have our election next year. And we will not only elect our president, but at the same time, we will also elect our parliaments, member of parliaments. We will also elect our governors. We will also elect our mayor at the municipality level. So this is a big endeavor and effort next year for us. And because President Jokowi cannot be the president for the third time, so this will be very interesting time for us also to experience a new candidates, maybe an old candidates from the past campaign, but next year election will be huge for us in Indonesia. Hopefully that will not be, we will not experience any disruptions politically or security in a security way or in security terms. But this is a huge task. So it will be interesting time for the world to also learn with us and experience with us. I don't know about the situation in Pakistan. For us, this is the, it is, how we call it, it's very consistent. So it's every 5 years that we do this. There's no disruption within this 5-year time or 5-year period for the president and the mayor or the governor. Usually there's nothing major that will change the situation. We will see the change in the next 5 years.
Ma'am, we faced a lot of issues when elections came. We also do after 5 years election. But right now, our government is not stable. Pakistan is facing issues related to their government. So our election will be held expectedly this year or maybe next year. But we do face security issues. We do face a lot of stuff when the election time came, and a lot of problems. We do feel pressure from, out of country, external pressure and internal pressure. So we do face a lot of issue when elections came and when elections are near.
Interesting. So I think our colleague from the embassy, maybe this is an area where we can have we can have discourses and discussions. At the end of the day, this is very, the situation is really out of our hands, or maybe on the street, right? This is the situation, the reality. We cannot change the reality, but maybe if we can have discussions more about our colleague from Islamabad, KPU commission, election commissions, how we runs the elections. Maybe this is an area also where we can have a discussion or chats, or just learn from each other, lesson learn from each other. We can try, There's no,
yes,
no
ma'am. We did discuss comparative political systems of different states in our classes, but no, we didn't discuss. Our more focus on China, Russia, US, the major powers, not on we discussed small states, but not in detail. But our focus on US more than China, than Russia, what they are doing, what are their system, what's UK think about their system. We should focus on our system as well. In Asian region, we should discuss about their system as well, but we don't, because we think superpowers are more important than these states. That's why. This is, I think, this is.
Yeah, but I think this is very good discussion. I think then if there's an interest, I think we can start, right? This class, maybe if our colleague from embassy in Islamabad can try to get somebody from our election commission, or just have a discussion how we do that. This is just for the talk. We don't try to teach anybody. We just share experiences, because you know, for us, this is also a new experience when we have this, I don't know how to say it in English, serentak. So the election at the same time for all levels. This is a huge undertaking. We started last 5 years in 2019. Before that, we have several steps. So we have a separate election period for president and for the region, for the heads of the region, so governor and mayor. We have a separate time. But 5 years ago and the next year, this is the second time we will do it next year, we will do it at the same time. This is a huge undertaking. Of course, the issues of money politics, about the corruption is huge. But there's also, we see that the civil society, when we include civil society and the people in the process, we can have many fans or many watchers, you know, and this is assist or help, pretty much help a lot the government to have a clean election and clean process. Hopefully, we hope that next year we will have a successful election as well. And the turnout voters for us is usually very good, above 70–80%, us in Indonesia. So that for that we are very grateful and thankful. But the participation of media, participation of the civil society and the people, that is a must for us in Indonesia, so that we can have a very good election and accountable and responsible government, elected government. I hope we can have the discussion. We can have this kind of discussion with Pakistan. I hope that.
Ma'am, the elections in Indonesia involves paper or they are digitalized? Because in Pakistan, the elections are still paper-based, and I think because of that, there's a huge chances of manipulations. And obviously, if we talk about digitalized, so you need to have a higher security system for that as well. So is there a paper involved in elections, or it's just digitalized?
Or what? The centralized? Say again?
Digitalized. The digital networks are involved when the elections held, or is just a paper or a stamp to vote any party?
I don't really get it, but our election system is like for now, a year before, or at least 6 months before, we already have the, I, for example, already get the invitation to participate in next year election. So we have a team of, there's lots of people that involved in making sure that there are eligible voters receive the invitation from today, from now. Even a couple of months ago, we already received the invitation to participate in next year election. Our election will be in February, 14th of February next year. We already know the date for next year election, and we already get the invitation. So next year, usually we will, each voters will have to come by themselves and vote. If you want to vote by post, that is also possible to send your votes through post. But usually that is happen when we are at the very remote area, or when we are working abroad, like our colleagues in the embassy in Islamabad, Indonesian diaspora do not have to come to Islamabad. They can send the votes by post. But for us in Jakarta, usually we come in person. And there are people assigned from each political parties. They will have their observers in the room, and also anybody who wants to see the election, how in each polling post. And we also have these quick counts. So whenever they read the paper, who you choose, usually we do it at the same day as the election. So by the end of the day, we will find out, or we already know roughly who is get more votes from the candidates. We do not choose the party. We choose the party as well as the candidate for president, for example. So we do not choose the party and then the party will assign somebody else. No, we choose the party and the candidates. So we know who we choose. Hope that clarified.
Yes, yes. All right, ma'am. Thank you.
And for that, we are, I think we have this, what we call popular votes, and not, like the US where they have this electoral college. We have popular votes. So who get the most votes, that's the winner. Silahkan, Mas.
Ma'am, do you want to ask any other question? Because the knowledge you have shared with us, it's actually very nice. We have gained a lot of valuable insights. So if you want to ask any other question, if any candidates want to ask any question, otherwise we'll just end the session then.
I don't have any more questions.
Izin Ibu,
Now
saya
we are
Zulfikar.
expecting to you to. Sorry.
Excuse me, Soha. Izin Ibu, saya Zulfikar dari staf politik KBRI Islamabad. Izin menyampaikan bahwasanya memang this program, sorry I'm talking in bahasa ya, for everybody. Program ini dikhususkan untuk Universitas Bahria di tahun ini karena memang antusiasnya tinggi dan memang dalam upaya memberikan sharing best practice Ibu terkait pengalaman Indonesia dalam menghadapi krisis khususnya sejak 1998 dan akhirnya bisa bangkit sampai sekarang. Karena di materi-materi kita sebelumnya, di pembicara-pembicara sebelumnya, semua dibuat sekomprehensif mungkin sesuai arahan Bapak Dubes, sehingga memberikan sharing best practice to the Pakistani Brotherhood kan. Tapi persoalannya sekarang adalah memang Pakistan tengah menghadapi multi krisis dari ekonomi, politik, hukum bahkan keamanan Ibu. Dan itu semua berjalan beriringan. Sebagai bubble lingkaran yang satu sama lain saling mempengaruhi dan memang ada harapan dari semua pihak konsensus agar terjadi pemilu di akhir tahun ini di Oktober, tapi lagi-lagi sinyal kuat sepertinya akan ditunda karena sebagai pihak yang mempengaruhi maksudnya ada kekuatan besar ya kita bisa sebut militer yang mempengaruhi itu semua sehingga disabilitas politik itu masih berjalan hingga detik ini dan mungkin kalau pemilu ditunda juga kemungkinan besar akan berlanjut krisisnya sampai pemilu itu sendiri berjalan karena memang pertarungan politik antara oposisi dan pemerintah incumbent yang mengimpeach sebelumnya itu cukup keras, cukup tegas hingga akhirnya ada penangkapan, pemberedelan media dan sebagainya. Jadi kebetulan memang ada di akhir-akhir ini ada narasi bagaimana mereka ingin mencari semacam demokrasi untuk tidak kembali diatur oleh militer, tapi sepertinya dari analisa-analisa kita yang kita laporkan pun nggak mudah seperti itu Ibu. Sekedar prolog, izin.
Wonderful. Terima kasih Mas Zulfikar. So I think based on our colleagues' explanation, I truly appreciate, Mr. Shabir, I truly appreciate this class and the interest to learn from Indonesia and to learn about Indonesia. Because in the taking into account the situation in Pakistan right now or today, the interest to learn about another Asian countries, another middle power in the countries, because you have to say the Pakistan is considered also middle power. So in that regard, learning from each other is very important, because if the situation is getting better in Pakistan, understanding the colleagues in the region will be beneficial in the long run, because then we can build this region again. And I really hope that the security situation will in Pakistan will improve one way or the other somehow, because only by peace and stability then we can talk about the economy, and then we can grow together. I think that's
Sure,
all.
ma'am. Yes.
Optimism. And being a diplomat, you have to be optimistic. You have to be optimistic.
Yes, ma'am. That's the first key, actually. Um, so it's actually very great listening to you. Thank you so much again for participating and sharing your knowledge and valuable insights with us. I think we'll just end the session now. Thank you again.
Thank you. Have a
Thank you,
good day,
Syabir.
everyone.
Terima kasih, Ibu.
Makasih,
Welcome.
Mas. Salam buat Pak
Sama-sama, Bu.
Dubes.
Siap, Ibu, siap. Thank you, everybody.